John here, and talking a little bit about a mega battle that we set up recently. It was wanted to play a big game for a while now. Used to do mega battles, call them mega battles because of the size. For a while now, used to do them when we played back in the day in the garage, but really been on the tournament circuit a lot lately. Haven't had too much time to do kind of hobby gaming, so I was really looking forward to getting back into that and running some more big, just fun narrative games. So I found a weekend where my wife was going to be away and had some free time, so I invited some of the guys over. I was set up to do an 18,000 point game, so 9,000 per side, which is fairly big. I think we've done a little bit larger before, but this was big. So I set up 2 tables side by side. I got some pictures of those I can show you later in the slideshow. Set them up with the Unplugged Gamers Chaos theme, so it looked really nice. Kind of a neutral gray scheme too. 12 foot long, we figure 9,000 points per side. It's about 4,500 points per table. That's still a lot for a 6-foot table, but with that many points, we figured people would take extra monsters, maybe some special characters, and it wouldn't feel super cramped on the table. So what we did was we broke the 6 guys down. 3,000 points per player, kind of into good and evil. A couple of us have multiple armies. I've got a few armies. So we looked at the people that only had one army and tried to figure out how we can make that all jive. So we ended up with Dark Elves and Warriors of Chaos, 2 Dark Elves, versus Lizardmen, Dwarves, and High Elves, which is kind of the real good guys of the old world, right? Well, the old races. So it turned out to be pretty fun. It was kind of thematic, and then we were being attacked or attacking, I don't know, maybe the bad guys. So the scenario was pretty straightforward. We were just going to do a battle line, but we did some special rules in the scenario, so I think it's probably worth going over those. First of all, we did a hidden deployment and hung a sheet between the 2 tables. And unfortunately, I didn't take a picture of it when it was like that, but essentially I just tacked it to the ceiling and it hung down and blocked both sides of the table. It was like a drop cloth, canvas drop cloth. And we were doing an Apocalypse style deployment. I've never played Apocalypse, so I think I got these rules right. I don't actually know anybody with the Apocalypse books, and I couldn't verify, but what we did was we each bid on how long we wanted to deploy for, and we would get that much time to deploy. Anything that didn't make it on the table had to come in as reserves, and whoever bid the least amount of time got to go first, automatic first turn. So as it turns out, the good guys bid 29 seconds for a deployment. The bad guys bid just under 3 minutes, 2:58, I think. So the good guys won. We got to go first. We had kind of talked about just how fast we could do this. 29 seconds turned out to be a little aggressive. Some of my cavalry took a spill to the floor in the process of trying to get them onto the table really fast. Had some casualties before the game even started. But for the most part, we got all of our units on the table. An extra 15 seconds would have been nice in hindsight. Probably think this through a little bit better next time. We did have staging areas set up. I had tables set up to the side, and there were some shelves just off camera here that you can't quite see. And we were allowed to set our models up on the trays and in units, put the characters in them and everything. Pre-battle, this was more about saving time during the deployment and placing units on the table where they are, which can take a long time with these big games I've experienced. So yeah, 30 seconds, the staging took maybe a half hour, everybody get their models out, and then in a couple of minutes, we were deployed. We had the bad guys time us because we had a shorter amount of time, so they timed us for 30 seconds, and we timed them for 3 minutes, and then we pulled the sheet down, and got started with the game. The scenario was relatively straightforward. The only changes we made were to the magic phase, and again, we wanted to complete this game on a reasonable time frame, so the reason I made the changes because I thought it would be faster. So what we did was on the beginning of every magic phase, the player whose turn it was, the opposing team would each match up 1-for-1. They would say, I want the Dark Elf guy to be against the High Elf guy, and the Warriors of Chaos to be against the Dwarfs. And those 2 players would essentially have their own magic phase. So you would roll the 2d6, so the dispel dice would go to the person you were against. And there were a little bit of restrictions too. Anything that didn't have a range, we put a 60-inch range on it. So a wizard's line of effect, whether for dispelling purposes, was 60 inches to either the target or the source. Spells that don't have range automatically have 60-inch range maximum. And really, that seemed to work out pretty well. With the 12-foot table, there were a couple of times where we got a wizard who was actually out of range to dispel something. So I think 60 inches was probably appropriate. Maybe 72 would have been better, but I think this worked out okay. And most of the time, there was an obvious choice for one player matching up against another player, and that worked. It did also give the defenders a little bit of an opportunity to choose where their dispel scrolls were going to go. We allowed every army to take duplicate magic items, meaning each army was each 3,000 points was individual. There was no grand scheme for trying to meet restrictions there. And these weren't legendary armies. They were just normal what are called Force Orgs army compositions. So I think that's really the basis for the game. I'm going to do an interview with the bad guys and do an interview with the good guys, which I think is only going to be me, unfortunately, when people can't make it. We'll talk a little bit about our deployment, and we'll talk a little bit about army lists and maybe our strategy going into it. And then we'll get into the slideshow. I took a bunch of pictures from the game, and we'll kind of step through how it went. It was a lot of fun, I'll say that. The pictures didn't come out great, unfortunately. I had just gotten the camera the day before, and some of them were a little bit blurry, so I'll work on that for the future. I'd like to do some more of these battle reports. Hopefully, if you've got any tips or pointers to what would make it more interesting to see or something like that, definitely open to it. This is kind of like a bragging rights style battle report where we're going to step through pictures of the game and talk about either our tactical decisions or the crazy stuff that happened. And let me tell you, there's a lot of crazy stuff. So I'll get into that. We'll do some interviews with the teams, and talk to you later. All right, so we're here with the evil team, the bad guys, if you will. So I wanted to start with, what was your, first of all, why don't you go over your army list? That's probably a good place to start. These were 3,000 points each.
All right.
By the way, introduce yourselves too, since people might not know who you are.
Well, I'm Pat.
And I'm Charles.
And teammate number 3 on the bad team is not here. His name is Greg. And we'll start going over the list. So we had two Dark Elf armies at 3,000 points and then a Warriors of Chaos. So I'll quickly go through the Dark Elf stuff. Greg took a Monster Mash list. He had a Dreadlord on a Dragon, and you'll see that our themes for our Lords were basically big, huge things that fly around. He had 2 Masters on the Mana Core. He had a Master BSB on foot, a big unit of Corsairs, 53 of them, a small unit of Dark Riders, a Scourge Runner Chariot, 3 War Hydras, a unit of 20 Blackguard, a Charybdis, and the Bloodrack Shrine. So he basically had, what was it, 7 monsters flying around doing crazy stuff. To keep with that theme, I also ran a Dreadlord on a Dragon with just some minimal equipment. I had a level 2 on Dark Magic, a level 1 on Beasts, a Cauldron as my BSB, 32 Corsairs, 20 Crossbowmen with a Flaming Banner, unit of 5 Dark Riders, 4 Bolt Throwers, 30 Executioners, 10 Cold One Knights with the Banner of Swiftness, and 5 Warlocks.
That all makes up for a lot of Dark Elves.
That's a lot of Dark Elves.
A lot of words on the table. From the Warriors of Chaos side, I had a Slaneshi Demon Prince, level 4, standard magic equipment, Sword of Strike, and Charm Shield. I had a level 2 Metal Caster on a disc. He had 4-up ward, became a 3-up ward, reroll 1s. And I had a level 1 Nurgle who held onto the Skull of Catan. I really wanted to try that out and see how that worked out. For core, I had 18 not Skeleton Warriors, that's my last list. Chaos Warriors.
Thank God.
No Tomb Kings. 18 Nurgle Warriors, Shield, Halberd, Banner of Swiftness. 18 Slaneshi Forsaken. For special, I had 8 Nurgle Knights, full command with a BSB hiding in there. And for rare, I had the Hell Cannon, which horrible. We don't talk about that. And the 3 Skull Crushers.
That's 9,000 points of Evil Army.
Yep. Yep.
All right, so I wanted to go over the army list because the way we took the pictures, the deployment was kind of scattered throughout the table. It was really like you couldn't get a shot of the armies one by one.
Right.
So it's hard to annotate it in the pictures.
Well, you guys tend to take the approach where it seemed like you kept your army all in one area, whereas we kind of spread our stuff out.
Yeah, we try to optimize our deployment.
Yeah.
What would be good with what? And
We got some pictures of the deployment we'll go over, but yeah, there was some strategies there.
Yeah.
But I mean, even before deployment, you guys have a strategy when you were like talking about building the lists, or what were you thinking about going into the game?
well, we tried.
Yeah. Keyword.
My main strategy was we're going into it already at a deficit in 2 of the phases. I mean, the magic phase was going to be dominated by the High Elves and the Lizardmen. And shooting, we're just going to be out-dominated by the Dwarfs. You know, I'm expecting 3 cannons, 2 grudge throwers, an organ gun, 3 bolt throwers, and countless archers. So I think our idea was to try to stay as mobile as possible, get into combat as fast as we can. And once we're there, thunderstop the heck out of whatever we're into.
Yep.
All right, good plan. So you guys opted not to take any special characters, even though we were using special characters in this game. Just didn't feel like using them at all?
Well, the problem is with 9,000 points and 6 people playing, and you have to remember all the rules for special characters and all that crazy stuff and explain them to your opponents. I don't know. My thought is it would have been fun, but it might have bogged down a little too much.
I don't know balls.
Fair enough, fair enough. All right, so here you have the evil team. We'll go over some of the rosters and talk about the good guys a little bit, and then we'll get into what happens during the battle. All right, so I'm here to represent the good guys. Just myself, unfortunately. Jeff lives out of state, and Omar was unavailable this evening due to some family commitments. So where'd my list go? Just like the bad guys, just like to start with kind of what we had here. So we had a Dwarf army, that's what Omar was playing. He's got a Rune Lord with Rune of Balance was the big one on him. We got a VSB with a Rune of Challenge and a good armor save. We got another Rune Smith with 2 runes of spell breaking, 26 Quarrelers. They both have great weapons. Dwarves with great weapons are awesome. We've got a runed up Grudge Thrower with accuracy, strength 4, burning. We've got another Grudge Thrower runed up with accuracy, strength 5. We have a cannon runed up for re-rolling misfires. Another one doing the same thing but flaming, so you can do it again. And we have an organ gun, 5 Slayers, 28 Hammerers with a Master Rune and Grunge. That's the 5 up ward save against shooting attacks. 5 Hammerers, 18 Iron Breakers with a Rune of Determination, which means they take a leadership test on 1d6 instead of 2. And 10 Thunderers. So pretty much he's got a bunch of artillery and a bunch of missile fire. He was kind of supposed to be our fire base, right? Then we have the High Elf list. That's what I was playing in this game. I decided to go for a special character. Just kind of on a whim. I don't know. I've never fielded a special character before. It was fun. So I took Prince Tyrion, the Defender of Ulthuan, who was awesome. I have an Archmage with a Book of Hoeth on High Magic. Another Mage with a Spell Scroll on War of Metal. I got a Noble with Moranian's Wayshard that lets a unit of archers or spearmen ambush, which I did. I have a Noble BSB on a Steed. He's got a 1-up reroll armor save. I have the 29 Spearmen. They were ambushing with the Noble, which, anyway, I've never seen anybody use that before. 14 Silverhelms, 15 Archers. Those both have full commands. 10 Dragon Princes, Banner of the World Dragon, which never mattered. 2 Repeater Bolt Throwers and 2 Frostheart Phoenixes. So that's kind of a pretty go-get-em High Elf list. And then Jeff had, he was playing Lizardmen, and he had 2 big units. He had 30 Temple Guard, they're stubborn naturally. 60, I think it was 60 Saurus Warriors.
60.
Or 50, high 50s, it was a big chunk of Saurus Warriors. 2 units of Skirmish Skinks, 2 units of Chameleon Skinks, an Old Blood on a Carnosaur. No, a Scar Veteran on a Carnosaur. And he had a Slan that had...
High Magic.
Yeah, it was High Magic, and I don't remember what he took for Disciplines on it. And then he had some Cold One Cav, maybe? I don't have his list in front of me, unfortunately. But pretty much the list was centered around a pretty big unit of Stubborn Temple Guard, and then a huge unit of normal Saurus Warriors with a Old Blood with a Stubborn Crown. That's what it was. So they were both stubborn. Yeah, and then he had a Skink Chief with a Cloak of Feathers, and somebody with an Egg of Quango in there too, which actually came up to be pretty awesome. So our strategy going into it, we were thinking we're going to have a really good Dwarf Anvil who's going to shoot the crap out of people. And then we're going to have these 2 stubborn units of Source Warriors, which are just tough to kill, toughness 4, good, decent armor. So they would kind of form our center. And then we would have the fast High Elf army with all these cavalry and flying monsters off to one flank, with the hopes of the High Elves kind of rolling around the side, anchored around the Lizardmen, while the Dwarves shot up whatever got in front of the High Elves, so that the High Elves could just kind of roll across the table. Didn't really work out like that, but that was the plan going into it. So let's get on to talk about the game a little bit. Alright, so here we are. We got some of the pictures up from the battle here. This is the table that we were talking about playing on. This is a 12-foot long table. You can see the 2 tables put together in the glorious basement. We went with a Chaos theme. This is the Unplugged Gamers Chaos theme tables. And I had set this up the night before, so when everybody got there for the morning of the game, we just kind of were able to set up and go. We've got a couple of hills, a couple of lakes, some forests, a nice building in the center, and overall felt like a pretty balanced table, I thought. This is kind of the closer table. You get a little bit better shot of what's on that one. And then this is the building in the middle, which is a very nice Terranscapes building. Yep, solid. And that's a better shot of the far corner of the table. There's a workbench over there, so it's tough to get from the other angle. This is Team Evil. Say hi, Team Evil.
Hello.
Hello. We'll get some better shots of their army deployed out in front of them, but you can kind of see the mix of stuff there in front of them. Here we have the entire table with both armies deployed on it. You'll notice part of Team Good Guy's strategy was to not use part of the table. We thought with our death artillery stuff and trying to anchor the flank, it would help us if we could isolate part of the table away. And
it worked.
It kind of worked, yeah, a little bit.
We still took up the entire table.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
pretty much unit to unit.
Yeah, well, you guys had so many like monsters and stuff that there was lots of places, to hide things, and you take up a lot of space. But yeah, you filled the 12-foot table pretty well, guys. This is just more pictures from deployment. You can kind of get a different angle. You see that huge chunky Unitosaurus right in the center of the table, and then the Temple Guard next to him. That was supposed to be our fulcrum with the Carnosaur over there. Way in the back, you can see the High Elves. Again, you can see the the 2 dragons here. Oh, actually, you can only see 1 dragon in that picture. This is Team Good Guys. It's John on the right, Omar in the center, and Jeff on the left. Catch some of those frost hearts in the back there. And this actually kind of points out what you guys were saying earlier, right? How we deployed with our armies mostly together. So all the High Elves are on the right, the Dwarves are in the center, and then the Lizardmen were more over to the left. This is the absolute left side of the table, looking at the bad guys. So we've got
Skull Crushers all the way on the left, Dark Riders behind them. You see the Bolt Thrower and a Hydra right behind it.
With 1 head.
1 head. Who needs 5?
Right.
Gorby's Chariot, followed by Forsaken, a bunch of Corsairs, and
Some Manticore behind them.
Manticore. Yeah, I want to apologize for some of the blurry pictures. The camera was brand new, and I was still playing with trying to get them come out. And then we also weren't requiring painted models. You had to have the models assembled, and there were no proxy. Well, we did allow 1 proxy, but other than that, it was all.
The proxies were a special case, John. Come on. I mean, the models came out that morning, and I did manage to get 2 of them assembled. So
yeah, we played this game the morning the Dark Elf came out. So moving over a little bit to the side here, you can see.
Yeah, so that old Hydra with no base, that's actually being played as a Charybdis by Greg. Next to it is Charles's Demon Prince. Hiding. And then to the right of that
Big baby Demon Prince.
is the edge of, it looks like my Executioner block, with another Hydra behind it.
Yep. This is the center of the table from the evil side.
Yeah, so after the Executioner block, that's my dragon. Each army had to select an overall leader. And he got a little bit of extra bonus. I think he got an extra 6 inches on his Inspiring Presence range.
Right.
And my dragon was the leader of this one. That's why he's kind of center there, close to everyone. Next to the dragon, you can see Mage right there. She's in a unit of 20 crossbowmen with the flaming banner. the little dreadlord on top of the building, that was me being lazy, anticipating that my dragon was going to get shot off.
Turn one.
I was just getting the model ready because I figured I'd need him at some point. Turns out he stayed alive the whole game, which was nice. Behind the tower, the unpainted thing on the base, that's the Hell Cannon. And then there's that big block of Corsairs that Greg was running, those are the old models, with the popsicle stick bases, which I was a fan of. I think there's 53 models there, and then just behind them is his dragon, in the black there in the upper right.
And the Bloodrack Shrine was in
the Bloodrack Shrine, that's right, yep.
There's also a Zinj caster, or a metal caster, hiding behind the building.
Oh yeah, right behind the building.
Oh
You
yeah,
can see
the blue, yeah.
sticking out. Getting over to the further side of the evil table there.
So out there in the middle, the 2 white models with the 3 black horses, those are my unit of warlocks. The white models are the actual warlocks, the other ones are just some random horses.
That was after their vanguard move.
After the vanguard, yeah. Bolt thrower on the hill there. I can't tell what's behind the bolt thrower.
That's a chariot, I think.
And his other
that's the Scourge Runner
chariot.
chariot. And then he's got his blackguard. Yeah, the other dragon. And another Manticore over there unpainted.
Chaos Warriors are sitting there as well.
Yeah, Chaos Warriors and the Manticore. And then, come on, move. And this is all the way to the side. We've got more Chaos stuff.
We have the actual Dark Elf chariot followed by a bunch of Chaos Knights.
Yep.
The BSB hiding.
Yeah. And then the far side is another Hydra, a Bolt Thrower, a unit of Dark Riders that had already vanguarded, and then behind them is a unit of 5 Cold One Knights.
Right. So during the deployment, the good guys kind of took a lot of this stuff out of the game. Like those Chaos Knights took a long time to get back into position. That Hydra never really got into the game.
Same thing with the Cold One Knights. Yeah, and even the Warriors. I mean, they took...
Oh, the Warriors.
They did good. They did, yeah.
Yeah.
Over on the good guy side now, we had some chameleon skinks scouting in, I think we were playing this as a marsh, but water feature no less, because that's what chameleon skinks do best. Looking down the line, you got more skinks, and then you can see the Carnosaur there. We go down, and then that's just a wall of Saurus, both kinds, all the way to the center of the table. This is more of the Dwarfs here. We got, we had that hill, and then this impassable butte there. And he's just kind of got his Bormastine spread out behind there with a bunch of units covering him in front. A lot of missile troops.
And that was really scary, looking at all that artillery and a bunch of stutter dwarves or nasty great weapon dwarves.
It is a little scary. And this is getting over to the end of the dwarves. I think there's a bolt thrower behind that unit of dwarves on the bottom there, but this is mostly what I was fielding. It's that boss of Dragon Princes with Tyrion and the BSB. And then archers with the 2 mages behind it. Pair of Frostheart Phoenixes, and then the unit of Silver Helms over on the flank. So this was after we had taken the first turn. I can't remember if that Hydra took... Did it only take 1 wound? Is that what happened to it?
Yeah.
It got hit by a cannon or something, and it only took 1 wound, yeah. Great. So the dwarf shooting has begun at this point. The guy in the Manticore took a cannonball to the face, and this guy has an Iron Curse icon, and he rolled to see what his ward save would be for the guy on top. 6.
Every time.
Rolled his ward save for the Manticore. 6. Forget that cannon. But he ended up taking 3 wounds from shooting that I think went under the Manticore. They're from like a crossbowman or something.
Yeah.
Oh, repeater bolt throwers too. This was the Charybdis stand-in, right?
Right.
Yeah, so he took 2 wounds from something else. I think it was a grudge thrower that did an indirect shot at him.
And then this was from Skinks, I believe. So basically the Lizardmen player, Jeff, put all his Skinks into the Warlocks. There were something like 10 wounds caused, and I saved an extraordinary amount of them.
Freaking Warlocks.
Yeah, so, they did fine with their 4 board. And then...
Pat, why don't you talk about what happened here? Because this is ridiculous.
So as you can see in this movement tray, half the unit's missing. So those Warlocks that survived the stupid amount of shooting, I think I 6 diced it. I don't remember. I did a boosted Doom Bolt with the Warlocks, and it causes 4d6 strength 5 hits. And I don't even know how many hits I rolled. But
21. It was a 21.
It was 21. Okay. I think I killed 17 was the final result out of the 21 hits, I guess. So
not only did you roll ridiculously high for the number of hits, but then you killed with almost every single one of them.
Yeah, no, that's average, right? That's how that works.
Gotta love dice.
Yeah, that's totally average. Thankfully, Temple Guard are immune to psychology, so
Right.
it didn't run off the table. But that was
Right.
a big hit to
Well, the
us.
plan here was start cutting them down.
Yeah.
Maybe not expecting 17 of them, but I'll take what I can get.
Jeff was not pleased.
No, he's pulling off the whole back of his unit, grumbling in the corner. It was a good start. The Chameleon Skinks, you killed one of them with a Dark Rider shot, I think?
Probably, yeah.
So this is after the movement phase. Well, I mean, the magic phase that obviously already happened, but you can see the Demon Prince kind of...
Yeah, your turn 2.
Oh, this would be in our turn too,
Oh,
yeah.
no, this might be our turn 2.
Yeah.
You guys moved first, I'm sorry. This is
our turn 1.
turn 1.
So
Yep.
the Demon Prince flew up to hide behind that impassable there. He figured it would make it difficult for that Great Weapon unit to charge.
Well, my goal with the Demon Prince was to stay alive until turn 2. Because I figured the amount of shots that were coming from Omar, the dwarf player, into the Demon Prince was just going to absolutely destroy it. So I saw a good chance to hide up behind that pillar for a charge in the later turn. So I took it rather than trying to hide the Demon Prince for later rounds.
So that makes sense. So he's pretty well protected there, actually, because those dwarves can't charge him, and he can't really get shot, like direct shot with a cannon.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is right behind it there's an organ gun, so I try to make sure I was hidden from the organ gun.
Yeah. And then you can see in the back there, the Charybdis moved up, trying to get into position, and some of the other units, moved up too. It's kind of more a wider shot here. Notice the Skull Crushers did not move up.
No,
Yeah,
They're staring down 2 Frost Phoenixes.
2 Frost Phoenixes, 2 giant buses of High Elf Knights. It's like, I think I'll stay back.
Yeah, they weren't feeling too uppity. So this is kind of a shot across the rest of the table. You can see where that Exalted Hero, or Sorcerer,
Chaos
Sorcerer had moved up, get in the way of the Skinks. The Carnosaur's kind of staring him down.
I positioned it in such a way that the Carnosaur couldn't charge it. He can only wheel once, so...
That's right, those Skinks were just in the way.
Yeah.
Yep. Made for a tricky little charge, so you either had to charge the Skinks in with the Carnosaur or something to make that happen. So this is what happened. This was back to the good guys' turn 2 here. You notice
Yeah.
something had happened in between here, and I guess we didn't get a shot of it, but those Dragon Princes had charged across through the marsh, taken a couple of casualties to dangerous terrain, but completely obliterated. I blew the breath weapon on Tyrion and a sword, and completely obliterated, with the help of that Frost Phoenix, the unit of Forsaken.
Corsairs.
Oh, I'm sorry, Corsairs, right.
Yeah.
So the Frost Phoenix overran, and I'm not sure if he caught them or not, or if
Yep.
they had been killed
Yep.
to the man. And then the Silver Helms turned to face the other combat which was happening, which was the Frost Phoenix into the Forsaken. And the Frost Phoenix did a number on them, too. He killed, he had +1 attack that turn from the Winds of Magic, and he did a number, and he took 1 wound in return. That little unit of Dwarves had, I think, charged with everything else into the Corsairs. They were kind of in the way, so we decided to charge them in too. They didn't really do anything, but they were part of the overrun. So that was big right there. I think, and the Charybdis had died at this point, right? Something had killed the Charybdis. I think it was our shooting phase.
Probably.
I think we popped it with something.
And that's our side still chilling for a little bit, just decided to stay alive.
Yeah, the Dark Riders had taken a casualty from a bolt thrower. These guys just were not interested in doing much else right now.
And the big thing right now is to look on that Gorby's chariot. You can see that there's 4 wounds on it right now, and that'll come in important.
Yeah, he took. What did he take 4 wounds from? Was it magic or something?
Bolt throwers, cannons,
Yeah.
magic.
He just got shot up. He took 4 wounds. Over here, these dwarves had kind of moved up a little bit, but not really much was happening on this side. This is kind of a better. You see that gap where the Charybdis was. He's not anymore.
Womp womp.
Yeah, no more Charybdis. The Lizardmen over here were kind of supposed to be anchoring the center of the table. Decided it would be advantageous to possibly get into that building with one of these massive units of stubborn Saurus warriors. There were a couple of things in the way, though, and he ended up in a sticky situation. And obviously, the Temple Guard were the unit that wanted to get into the building, since they had been hit so hard at this point. But the logistics of getting them around the other Unitosaurus were just proving to be difficult at this point.
Yeah, I think our strategy right there was just try to avoid the Lizardmen player. I mean, try, because there's no way we're going to be able to chew through that many swords all at once.
Actually, my crossbowmen were in the building at this point, I believe, and the Saurus, I don't know if it's this turn or maybe the next turn, but they ended up charging the building. And that changed it quite a bit once it came back to our turn.
That's
with
true.
The Executioners.
Yeah. This was before they had made it to the building.
Right.
The Saurus. So over on this side of the table, not a huge amount happened. Those chameleon skinks killed most of that unit of Dark Riders. The Sora, what's it called? Carnosaur, I think, had failed its charge to get whatever it was attacking the Chaos Warriors.
No, it wanted to attack the Greg's Corsairs, and it failed to charge.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, it failed to charge and it stumbled out of the ruins there. And then these skinks all just kind of moved around.
Yeah, bottom of the screen, the 3 skink units that all seem to be facing a central point. That's where my warlocks were.
That's how displeased Jeff was.
Yeah, so all those ward saves I made, yeah.
Everything on the warlock.
It was time for them to die.
They had done their thing.
Yeah, they did their job.
This is kind of a good shot of the whole battle here. So you see, the Silver Helms had moved up. You notice the bolt thrower that wasn't in the forest is now in the forest. I did a walk between worlds on it and moved it up into the forest. I figure it gives me a -1 to shoot, and I think it brought me within close range of the Gorby's chariot. Yeah. So it was it was kind of a silly move, but it ended up working out, and it gave my unit a ward save too. So great. So Charles had a stroke of genius here.
So the Forsaken have been getting their butt kicked such a way that I had 5 left. And I reformed them to be 4 wide so that I can get that Gorby's chariot to charge into the Frostheart Phoenix.
The flank of the Frost Phoenix, no less.
It has 1 wound left, and it's pretty much a get it out of the way.
Your impact hits in and
hopefully hold up that Frostheart Phoenix. And I'm
maybe even kill it.
But I didn't think it was going to kill it, but the main strategy here was to hold it up for 1 more round of combat so I can get those Skull Crushers down the center in between the Silver Helms and the Frost Phoenix to that nice juicy bunker that was holding John's mages. But the only thing I wouldn't have to do to get this to work was, passive dangerous terrain tests.
Through a march.
Which I proceeded to fail.
Of course, with 1 wound left, it didn't matter about the D6 because there was only 1 wound to be had.
No, but that was pretty much the loss of that flank at that point.
Yeah, that was a big swing right there because then the Frostheart Phoenix just pummeled those Forsaken. With the chariot dead, it wasn't looking good.
Yeah, it can just reform and then stare down the Skull Crushers and everything else on the rest of the flank. But I think in the end, they ended up holding up John's army for a good amount of turns.
It was the right move with the chariot.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely the right move.
Especially if I can get those Skull Crushers into that bunker.
Yeah. Just needs someone else to roll his dangerous terrain.
Exactly. Zing.
And now they're gone.
So you notice how the Forsaken are running away at this point. I chose not to pursue them, to reform the Frostheart Phoenix instead, and that's because I wanted to go take out those Skull Crushers and the other things over there.
And the Forsaken were on double ones anyways.
Yeah.
So.
Right. They were likely not rallying at that point.
Yeah.
That's a good strategy.
So this looks like the rest of our movement. I moved my general up. There was a small unit of Dwarfs there next to that other 5-man unit. I charged them, and then my thought was to overrun into that big unit behind it, blow my breath weapon and do some damage. I didn't get far enough on the overrun, so this is where I ended up stopping after that first unit. And he's going to hang out there until next turn.
The Demon Prince.
Omar didn't like this very much. He tried to position, so he did think ahead, and he tried to position his warriors in front of the organ gun such that I couldn't really charge it. Sadly, he forgot that all I needed to do was nip the base of the organ gun to actually get into combat with it. So I was able to fly over the impassable terrain, hit the organ gun, destroy it in 1 round of combat, and now I'm looking around trying to decide if I want to reform or overrun off the table, thinking that one of those guys was actually just a regular crewman. So when I looked down and asked him, "Hey, Omar, what's that model?" He goes, "Oh, crap. That's my general." I said, "Oh, I'd like to overrun."
Oops.
So I proceeded to overrun into his general, and we had the battle's general off.
Yeah, that didn't go well for the dwarf.
No.
No.
No, it's a runesmith, a rune lord.
Yeah.
Not a good fight for him.
No.
This Greg had moved his dragon up at this point, and now he's staring down the side of these Saurus warriors. I don't think that dragon had charged anything. It's just had moved
No, I
up
think
into
he
the
used
ruins.
his breath weapon though. It looks like there's some more missing. Maybe we shot it up with shooting. Could have been the crossbow, so I don't know.
He does like to use his breath weapons out of combat,
Yes,
so
he
it's
does.
probably what happens.
Yes.
And these guys had fled from you, right?
No, they were turned around
fled
to
from
fire
the
at the
dragon.
warlocks and the dragon.
Something.
My plan with this guy was to actually fly around the back lines and wipe off the rest of the war machines. He didn't really have anything to shoot his magic have on that flank anyway, so
Yeah.
figured tying up birch throwers and cannons would be his best.
But he had moved up because
Oh yeah.
before he was behind the
Right.
wall.
Yeah.
This is a Chaos Warrior staring down a Carnosaur in the background.
Yeah, so at this point, Greg and I were going to do a combo charge, the chariot and the warriors and the Carnosaur. The chariot passed its charge, and I failed, so I just kind of scuttled up a little bit.
Yeah. Scourge Runner Chariot solo against the Carnosaur, though,
No me gusta.
doesn't go well.
That's real bad. You should have just stayed back and shot at it.
Didn't go well at all.
Well, I mean, the two of them together probably could have hurt it really.
Yeah.
Oh, the two of them, yeah, but when one of them
Yeah.
fails.
Yeah.
Not good.
Again, don't roll my own dice.
Right.
So this is the very far end of the board, and we don't really have much going on here because there's not much to kill. You can see Greg's one Dark Riders harassing that unit of 5 Skinks, and the Hydra and the Cold One Knights are trying desperately to get to the other side of the table so they can do something.
This was the High Elves consolidating their forces here. The Silver Helms had moved up again. The other Frostheart Phoenix. There was a unit there to start with, though.
Yeah, that unit of Skull Crushers that was on that hill are no longer there.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was a combo. It was the Silver Helms in the front, the Frostheart Phoenix in the flank, and the unit of the Dragon Princes with Tyrion in the flank.
And the Dark Riders held up that painted unit right there.
Oh, I'm sorry, right. The Silver Helms had charged the Dark Riders.
Right.
The Frostheart Phoenix and the Dragon Princes had charged the Skull Crushers.
Mm-hmm.
And the Skull Crushers almost actually survived that.
Yeah,
It was really close.
You only killed one in your turns of combat. I think I put a couple wounds on the Frost Phoenix, maybe 1 or 2, but I ended up failing my break test.
Yeah, you were against flank, standard, BSB, rank, charge. Like it was just a whole bunch of bonuses.
No. But
and they booked.
the good thing about this is that the entire High Elf army is facing the wrong direction.
Right, I'm facing the table edge at this point, away from the whole rest of the battle, so not really where you want to be. But it did mean that this flank was like officially broken at this point. So what happens with these 4 Forsaken that are left running towards the edge of the table?
So notice how the movement tray is facing in one direction, the Forsaken are facing the other direction. That was just me being lazy and turning the Forsaken around since they passed their double ones.
What's it called? It's not Insane Courage.
It's Insane Courage.
Is it?
Yeah.
When you pass a rally test?
Insane. Double ones are always Insane Courage.
Oh, crazy. I couldn't believe they made that. It was so funny.
Yeah, and then
A cheer went up around the room.
and
they
now
made
the
their
flank
test.
is ours again.
So that solo Dark Elf there, that was the guy that was riding the Manicore.
Right.
Who's now no longer riding a Manicore. No fault of the Frost Phoenix. Frost Phoenix was just moving to go get over more into the battle. And that dude was just running around by himself now.
So here's my unit of Executioners with the Cauldron in it. You can see the crossbowmen behind it. What I was doing here was I was getting ready to position for a charge on the giant unit of Saurus. Now, before the Saurus charged the building, I was lined up for a nice flank charge on them, which I felt good about. After the Saurus charged the building
And reformed.
not so much.
You still had a front charge on him.
I did still have a front charge.
Not
but
a
it's
flank anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just another shot at the top, same thing as before.
Yeah, I think that's the same picture. So you notice, I think this is turn 3 at this point.
Yeah.
The High Elves with the Way Shard finally come on the table, and they're going to get themselves a juicy little bolt thrower next turn. You can also see that the Carnosaur finally made its charge and got into combat against the Bloodrack Shrine and the Corsair unit. And it lost combat, but it held. The Carnosaur at this point had taken a couple of wounds, but Jeff managed to get an apotheosis off on it and healed 3 wounds on it, I think.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a good shot of that monster staring down those Corsairs. Nom nom. Chomping on Corsairs. There's Chaos Warriors
Just
marching along.
Marching along.
Doing their thing. This is the cluster that happened around the building there. Those crossbowmen had been ejected from the building when they failed their... Did they fail their test, or... No, they passed their test, and the Saurus got popped 1 inch away. That's what it was.
Right. And this is what I was mentioning before, when it popped 1 inch away.
Yep. So, you can't quite see it in the back there, but that's a Stegodon that Jeff had moved up to block those executioners from getting around to the side of the Saurus. Pat,
I don't know what I'm doing there. Oh, that's the charge.
But you see the Stegodon's gone, yeah.
Yeah, notice the Stegodon is gone. Pat's adjusting a wound die or something on somebody. And those executioners overran into kind of like the side of the Saurus unit there.
Yeah, I think there was only about 6 models in combat, which really wasn't good at all.
Also, notice Greg's Dragon made it into combat against those Dwarf Thunderers, and he was starting to chomp away on that unit. So this is similar to the other shot, except there's no Hydra there anymore.
Yes.
Right. The Hydra made the interesting decision to charge the flank of the Dragon Princes, which I was more than willing to accept, because Tyrion is sitting right there. The Hydra had 1 wound on it had taken from something, and Tyrion single-handedly killed the Hydra before it got the strike.
Yeah, I mean, the bad thing about that is him charging in there allowed those Dragon Princes to reform immediately before
you got to your turn.
Right. So yeah, in the enemy turn, I got to reform and go face the other direction,
which is not a good strategy.
Right. It was a little. I mean, Tyrion only has 4 attacks, and he hit and wounded with all 4 of them to kill the Hydra. I mean, it was hit on rerollable 3s, wound on 2s.
But even if you don't kill the Hydra, you're going to be steadfast. It's not going to do anything. It's throwing away a unit and giving you the option to reform before.
Yeah. So it didn't work out for the best, but he really wanted to charge the Hydra.
Yeah.
So
he just wanted
he went for it. This is kind of a more close-up shot of what we were showing before.
You can see up at the top that the Chaos Warriors flanked the Carnosaur.
Yeah.
So now the Chaos Warriors are in. Now, the interesting thing about that is I really like that idea. I have a mage in there right now, and of course, with all Chaos Warriors, you have to give a challenge. So with him challenging off the Carnosaur, you pretty much take him out of combat. So for static combat res, we're sitting at a charge of flank, 3 ranks from the Corsairs, a banner, a BSB, and at most he's going to get 3 wounds through if he gets lucky, because it still isn't a real caster. So our chances of breaking him just on static res was really high.
Right. And you also notice that this Hydra flank charged with the Executioners this turn into the Saurus bunker there.
At this point, it's good to mention, if you see the Hell Cannon in the back, it ate all its crew. So now it's just...
Yeah, that happens. What do we got going over here? This is the High Elves.
Your next turn.
Yeah, I hadn't moved the Silver Helms yet, but my Archer unit with the mages is kind of moving up. I was getting a little worried about where that Dragon Prince was going, or Demon Prince. So I was kind of trying to move that unit away a little bit, and also I wanted to shoot the lone guy that was trying to run away, and get in range for spells and all kinds of stuff, so I was just kind of moving up. Omar's Iron Breakers are moving up around that hill, although there wasn't really a good target there anymore. And the Demon Prince is going to town on another War Machine.
Yep, he's just eating War Machines and keeping acquiescence on the other ones to keep it from firing every turn.
And he was doing a really good job with that.
What you thinking about, Charles?
Looking at all those cav that are running out of Forsaken unit.
And I think that Forsaken unit's still alive, so that's a show. Yeah, that's right.
It was terrible. The Spearman made it into the Bolt Thrower and Bolt Thrower.
No, you haven't charged at this point. What happened was, you were lined up for a charge on the Bolt Thrower, so I moved the Chariot over in hopes that I could charge you. Then in our turn, I ended up pivoting the Bolt Thrower to shoot at something else, and it gave you just enough room to wheel by, remember?
Oh, that's right. I ended up charging the Chariot.
Right. That was dumb.
And killing the Chariot.
You did. You did.
the good guys surveying the battlefield here. That dragon in the middle is chomping on dwarves.
And now there's no executioners.
Oh, they're still there. There's just not that
Yeah, the
many of them.
executioners still there. Oh yeah.
They're just tiny.
They're gonna go away soon. Don't worry.
Peeling off a lot of Saurus warriors. You notice that pile of dead in the back there is Jeff's moving a die around. Between the Hydra and executioners, they were taking some serious casualties. But that's the good thing about starting with 60 of them.
It's a whole lot.
It's hard to get rid of them all.
Chaos Warriors come along. Medusa's actually supposed to be the BSB, but sadly I left the BSB at home, sitting on the painting table.
Yeah, I made that mistake before it.
Medusa kind of looks cool in there, actually.
It's not really. It's not a bad look.
Yeah.
Just pretend she's a poop snake instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So these guys were trying to move around and get back into the battle.
I think they lost more wounds to dangerous terrain tests than actual battle.
And here, I don't know if you noticed those 2 dice next to the Carnosaur, but they're both 1s.
Yep.
And that was the Carnosaur holding from combat.
Yep.
I think he actually needed a 3. He didn't need the double 1s, but he got it anyway.
It's dramatic effect.
Yeah, exactly. And he killed the Chaos Sorcerer at that
Kill a
point?
caster, and then actually was able to kill off several warriors as well.
Yep. This was, oh, no, I'm sorry. The yellow and the green die are his wound dice. That was his leadership roll.
Yeah, the one.
Oh, the
He needed a 3, and
He
he
got the 3.
He got the 3 on
Yeah,
cold-blooded.
that's
That's what it
right.
was. This is the problem with doing a battle report like 2 weeks after you fought the game.
Here comes the dead executioners. So we kind of got held up a bit too long. You can see the Hydra's also gone. I think the Temple Guard charged the Hydra.
Yeah, Temple Guard flanked the Hydra.
But I got flanked by some great weapon dwarves, and that wasn't fun. I'm missing a lot of executioners.
They kill executioners surprisingly well.
They kill, yeah.
And those Thunders had reformed to fight the dragon. I think they threw him a champion on the first round. So the executioners are looking a little weak there at this point.
Right.
And the lost like another 10 Saurus warriors or so, but they're still going strong. Oh, and all of a sudden the executioners aren't there anymore. So they failed their break test.
Yep.
Yeah, they disappeared. But so did the Carnosaur.
Yep.
I don't remember what exactly killed him. Was it just Chaos Warrior attacks?
It was the Chaos. All of the Chaos Warrior attacks just pretty much decimated the Chaos, the Carnosaur itself. And then the Corsair attacks killed the guy riding it.
Yeah. The Temple Guard are standing to accept, but that was the end of the
It's not going to go
Carnosaur.
well.
There he is.
Oh,
That's
there he is getting killed. Put him back on the table so we can kill him. And
There's the final insane courage.
yeah, there's the insane courage roll for those guys. So they must have been fleeing in the previous picture.
Probably.
This is where they rallied on the table edge.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So you think, hey, this unit just rallied. Perfect. They got this big bus of cow coming across the table. Wah, wah. They fail their charge.
I tell you, those Forsaken are resilient.
Yeah, surprisingly. This stupid cow bus can't do anything the whole game. All they've killed so far is 5 Dark Riders. No, 4 Dark Riders.
Yeah.
Useless. And at this point, the Demon Prince finally made it into the High Elf, the squishy High Elf bunker.
I've had enough of War Machines at this point, and I've been staring at that bunker wanting to kill it for the entire game.
It's like 1,000 points of High Elf mages.
So I decided to go ahead and do it.
Cheater.
This is okay.
This is the other side, more towards the middle of the table.
I think this was the last Dwarf War Machine,
Yeah.
and it took me 2 rounds of combat, so that'll be 4 total combats to actually kill this War Machine.
Yeah, they're surprisingly resilient, because your strength 4 with a lot of your attacks, and their toughness 4.
Yeah.
So, surprisingly. And then you can see the Chaos Warriors, although chomping on some skinks, too.
Yeah.
It's funny to note, I guess we didn't get a picture of it, but the wound that sorcerer had taken earlier was from an egg of Quango.
Mm-hmm.
He charged into the skinks, they blew the egg, did the 2d6 strength 5, I think it was.
Yep.
And I managed to sneak a wound through on that 3-up rerollable ward save.
Yeah.
No, that felt pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can imagine that those are some dead skinks fighting Chaos Warriors. It's no contest. And this happened.
Ruh-roh.
This is all Greg's stuff here, but that Blood Rack Shrine, those Corsairs, and then a dragon in the rear, who was just had enough room to squeak by in the corner, past the other Saurus, and start stomping on some Temple Guard.
So after the first round of combat, I believe I fed the Demon Prince the champion.
This looks like the... No, you fed him the champion the first
and
round.
then I reformed.
And then you reformed, but you also, your other mage is missing
Fed
at this
him to
point.
level 2 the next round.
I fed him a level 2 that round. Yeah, that makes sense. Yep. So I still have most of my archers left, but I was running low on characters to challenge out. And they're getting expensive now. The Silver Helms, they kind of booked it across the table. They were trying to get back into position so they could actually do something. And I'm not sure where their overall position is here, but they were just booking it across the table, going 18 inches. That's the failed charge roll for the Silver Helms. Fail. They needed a 6, I think, and they rolled a 5. Oh, come on, guys, you're killing me here. They failed to charge twice before they finally made it in.
Forsaken.
Good. This unit of dwarves.
That's on our side of the table.
Yeah.
That's my level 2 in the red there.
This is a unit of dwarves that had killed the executioners.
Right.
And they had pursued the executioners.
Yep.
Who had to flee away from the Saurus.
Yeah.
So this put them in a position to then later run down what was left of the crossbowmen.
Yep.
So that sorceress was the remainder of the crossbowmen. She fled, got away, and the dwarves are giving her chase.
Slowly.
Yes. Those those skinks lost combat to the Chaos Warriors, obviously. Fled, and the Chaos Warriors didn't pursue.
I did not pursue. I was looking at the unit going, thinking, well, it's not a lot of points, and I really need to get these Chaos Warriors in the center to help out the rest of the team. So I figured, well, if I reform them and push them towards the center, it'll be all right. And skinks are skinks. I'm not really worried about their cost. But I didn't remember that there was also a priest in there, a chief. So I probably could have picked up an easy 100, 150 points there.
Either by targeting him or by running them down.
Yeah.
Just because they were actually worth points. Yeah. So, and they rallied.
But I wanted the warriors in the center. That was my main goal.
Yeah. There's that sorcerer chomping down on War Machine crew, not getting through very quickly though.
No.
Go War Machine!
It's not shooting though, so that's the important part.
Yes. You'll notice the Temple Guard are missing from in front of that unit of Corsairs. The dragon just did a number on them, went to town.
And your spearmen in the back.
Spearmen in the back
They fought the chariot.
are half trying to get away from the stuff that's coming at them from the other side, and half trying to come at those Corsairs. I think it's more trying to get away from the Hydra that's on the other side of them.
Oh boy.
So this is what ended up happening to the Demon Prince. He stomped the crap out of those High Elves. You'll notice that there's not many archers left at this point. And that bolt thrower had been walked between worlds across the table to get in range to shoot at something. But the dwarves were in a position for a double countercharge on that Demon Prince. Demon Prince doesn't care, he's unbreakable.
I'm unbreakable, I got Soul Feeder, I'm chomping on High Elves left and right.
Yeah.
I'm not really worried about that. My main goal at this point was to try to finish off that bunker.
Yeah, that expensive High Elf unit.
Yeah. Because I'm looking around the table thinking, well, we're either losing or we're at best tied. But I actually thought we were losing, so I wanted to go all out on that bunker as best as I could.
And I just got that mage in there, he's a level 4, and I'm just casting useless spells. I'm like, I want that ward save, give me that ward save.
I can't stop them all.
I think that's why I walked between worlds on the bolt thrower. I just wanted the ward save out of it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. The Silver Helms finally made the charge into the Forsaken and lost one. But they killed the Forsaken, so it was worth it. There's a definite lack of bad guys around the building at this point.
Yeah, they've pretty much all been cleaned up. I think that Frost Phoenix
Never made it.
There is beelining for the dragons, and we kept running away from
Yep,
it, right?
that's the Frost Phoenix never actually made it into combat.
I kept acquiescence on it the entire after that, so it just
That's
couldn't
true.
get anywhere.
And those skinks are just trying to stay out of the way, and those dwarves are kind of getting ready to fight Chaos Warriors if they have to. So this is the remainder of my Spear Elf unit. I think I bailed this character out because I knew they were going to die anyway, and I couldn't quite get him in a position where he couldn't be charged by one of 3 monsters. So I had to pick one, and he ended up getting chomped on by that dragon there. It's okay, he went out in the blaze of glory.
Right.
Hey!
That War Machine's gone!
Victory! I don't know why that's there twice.
Okay, so this is could be good news.
This is, we're getting to the end here. This is the bottom of 6. This game is pretty much wrapped up. Like, the other side of the table has done all their combats, they've done their magic phase. This is like the last spell that's going to happen. Nothing's in combat. The game is pretty much over at this point.
So I'm looking at it, and this is really where I'm looking at, thinking, okay, at best we're tied, we're probably losing. So I need to do the last-ditch effort to get rid of this bunker. And at the time, I think there was like 4 High Elves left.
So 2 archers.
2 or 3
2 archers and the mage.
And then the mage. So I'm looking at 5 wounds total to burn through it. Each of them probably has a 4 up ward save, 5 up ward
5 up,
save.
yeah, the die there, that's for a 5 up ward.
So I said, alright, I need to get rid of this the best I can. My magic phase, I 6 dice cacophonic choir, thinking I can take a couple wounds off the unit in the magic phase. I can finish it off in the combat phase and actually win the game, because that would have been like a 600-700 point unit.
It was a big swing.
To swing it. So I 6 diced it, got the irresistible. I'm not worried. All the other ones that makes me lose levels, lose power dice, it doesn't matter.
Bottom of turn 6.
Yeah,
We don't
it doesn't
care.
matter.
But hold on, the spell effect happens first.
Spell effect happens first. So, boosted, it's everything within 12 inches takes 2d6 wounds. That wounds automatically down 4 up and the armor saves allowed. And it goes off, it kills a bunch of the dwarves, and it gets to the mage bunker unit. I think I rolled like a 3 or a 4 on that one.
And then after ward saves, only kill 1 archer.
Yeah.
So after the spell, and you did 1 wound to the mage. So there's 1 archer left and still 2 wounds on the mage.
Yeah. I'm thinking it's okay. Between Thunderstomps and my hit on 2s, wound on 2s, I should be able to completely destroy that unit. So I roll up my my wonderful miscast, and I roll 3.
Dimensional Cascade!
So we drop the big template. I kill off almost every one of the dwarves just from the strength 10 hits.
Awesome.
Roll my save to see if I live.
Oh, there's the big template
the big
killing
template.
And
no, Charles.
there's the
no!
demon prince. Where'd it go?
Never roll my own die.
So the worst part about that is there's still 1 archer left. So you didn't even end up with points for the archers.
The funny part is to roll my own wound for the strength 10, I rolled a 1. So I'm like, hey, that's okay.
The only saving grace there is that it was the right move to cast the spell, because in the combat phase, one of those dwarf champions could have challenged you, and you wouldn't have been able to attack the High Elves anyway.
Yeah.
So the High Elves, I think, at that point, had survived long enough to be safe. The cacophonic choir could have quite possibly wiped them out. Even the miscast could have wiped them out.
I just needed to get as many wounds through as I possibly could, and
It was it happens.
I figured we were losing, and this is what would swing us to a victory.
Right. So Demon Prince dead. Boo. Yeah, this is the total casualty count there. A couple of High Elves and just probably a total of like 20 dwarves died to that cacophonic choir. And this is the table at the end of the battle. The Demon Prince on the corner there is dead. You can see the Silver Helms never really got there. Those 2 Frost Phoenixes never really did anything. Over here you've got the dragons kind of staying out of charge range of things like Frost Phoenixes. Some dwarf units hanging around. Way over here, those Corsairs had killed the High Elf Spearmen. Chaos Knights are hanging around. There's a Hydra still alive over there. And in this far corner, those are casualties in the corner, but that Bolt Thrower is still alive, I think. And the Cold One Knights stayed alive.
The one funny part that you didn't get a picture is those Cold One Knights.
Oops.
In the middle of the game, failed their stupidity test, and when they stumbled forward, ran into the Hydra. And Greg nearly lost it.
He was so mad.
Thought I was going to be killed. What it meant was the Hydra couldn't charge something.
Couldn't move.
Couldn't charge the Spearman.
Right, that's what it was. Yeah. Oh, he's going to move and breathe on you because he's obsessed with...
He's obsessed with using his breath
weapon.
weapon. Yeah. Fail on the Cold One Knights. So the long shot across the table. People, the 2 teams there are furiously totaling up points to see who was the victor. And that's the end of the slideshow. So we totaled everything up, and why don't we cut, and we'll go to do some recap. Alright, so all said and done, the last picture there we were tallying up the results. How did it turn out, guys?
Womp.
think it was a loss of what, like 500, 600? Was it?
1,000.
It was 1,000,
lost.
Yeah, that's what
and
was.
it was really the difference of that dimensional cascade.
Yeah, because
it was.
the Demon Prince itself was worth like 540 plus 100 for being a gem.
Right.
And then the mage that he failed to kill was 300 some odd points,
Yep.
and the archer unit was 200 points. So it was really
really
a
close.
1,000-point swing, and the good guys came out on top by just about 1,000
Yeah.
points.
'Cause
So
if
that
I
one
was-
situation.
Except if I was able to kill it, it would have been a 1,000-point victory for us.
Right.
Right. No, it would have been a 1,000-point swing total.
Yeah. I would get mine 600 alive and then kill yours for an extra 600.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's about
1,000
1,100, 1,200.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
the game was really close. It came down to one spell at the end, and the bottom of 6 was
Yep.
the difference between a draw and a loss for the bad guys.
Overall, a good game.
It's a lot of fun.
A lot of fun, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And I was pretty impressed. We managed to play an 18,000-point game in about 8 hours.
Yeah.
We finished up about 7 o'clock at night.
I think the big thing was that deployment.
Yeah, the hidden deployment worked really well.
Yeah.
We timed ourselves too short, obviously, but each team being able to just kind of in isolation put their armies down really speeds up the game.
Absolutely.
And then the magic phase thing I think worked out really too, because we ended up having the 3 magic phases pretty much happened simultaneously, and like I didn't even really need to know like what Jeff was doing.
There was
No,
a few instances
no.
of, do I need to stop this?
Yes. No.
Yeah. So it was pretty good, and then one of your guys didn't have any magic.
Greg. He
Greg.
just
Greg
had the
didn't have any
ruby ring,
magic,
yeah.
and the dwarves didn't have any magic.
Right.
So we had one of those phases was kind of
Fixed. It was
debunked
fixed.
every
It was,
time.
It was when we were up. It was whoever the weakest magic defense was on Greg. And,
Right.
When you guys were up, Greg was on Omar. Omar doesn't have any magic, so
Yep.
made it easy. Yeah.
Yeah, so it worked pretty good. Overall, the rules were good. The game was fun. I think a 12-foot table was an appropriate size.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If we had spread out across the whole table, like it still would have been a little cramped, but that's okay because you're playing a huge game.
Right.
I don't think you had the models to spread out across the table.
Yeah, you really didn't have that many models.
My army was real compact. I
Yeah.
had a lot of characters.
Yeah. But it shows that your strategy didn't fully come to light with trying to sweep across. I mean, it took like 6 turns.
Yeah,
before you could
it didn't
fully-
work because the High Elves never got to sweep.
No, we were able to keep you pretty much isolated from the rest of the army.
Right.
Right.
But it still worked out for us.
Yeah.
I think that those big units of Stubborn Saurus worked out really, really well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Be an anvil, be super hard to kill, and that did its job. So all right, I hope to be able to bring you some future battle reports. But for now, we'll sign off on the 18,000-point game.
All right.